Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hope you're well out there. There's going to be another one of these shows where we try and get through 20 stories, and we can only get through 10. But a lot to cover, a lot to talk about. The Epstein files, the latest revelations or non-revelations. Some revelations, many non-revelations. Do they matter? Let me know in the chat, and thank you guys, all of you, for joining me and being a part of this live stream or listening later, whatever is your thing, whatever's your jam, man. Hello. Someone says the sound is completely effed. Is the sound completely effed for others? Let me know. Sound distortion. This seems to be everyone's agreeing that there's sound distortion. I'm gonna try the microphone. We'll see. Is this any better? Hello, testing. Let me know if that's any better. Okay, so this is probably, okay, it's going to cut out for a second, but I'll be right back. Testing. Any better now? All right. Let me know, folks, if it's any better. I mean, the truth is, I have tried the two things that I'm able to try, so if it's still fucked, then I just start doing my own audio adjustments in my voice. If I talk like this, someone says it's now worse. Sucks again. Okay. No good. It was better before you left. Nope, you had to fix it. All right. Well, we'll try going back to Wi-Fi, and we'll see if that does anything. All right. Let me know if this still sucks. If it still sucks, again, there's not a lot I can do. I have about 3 things that I can try. How about now? Any better? Much better. Perfect. Good now. Okay. We're sticking with this. If it sucks again later, let me know, and maybe I'll try something. There are not many options if they decide to fuck up my feed. All right, let's try this again. Welcome, everybody. We are not on the good mic right now because of all those audio issues, but good enough. All right, so we're going to get into what is kind of revealed by the Epstein revelations. But the biggest revelation, honestly, of what just came out from the Epstein files, and I didn't want to ignore it. I know you can get some of it from the mainstream media. I didn't want to ignore it because then it looks like I don't think that the Epstein revelations matter when they really fucking do. I mean, we should know that the top ruling elite are pedophiles and rapists and scumbags and all of the things. Like, that is something that's important to know. They're not just screwing all of us. They're also involved in other crimes. But I'd say the biggest revelation is that the Trump administration is continuing to do their best to cover all of this up. And you see it with just the sheer number of redactions, just mass redactions, like pages and pages of redactions. And they say it's to save, rescue, or whatever, protect the victims, when you can tell it's not about the victims, because a lot of what's redacted is clearly not the victims. A lot of what's redacted is clearly the persecutors, the predators. You can tell, like, well, I'll get into this a little more later, but you can tell when they show a photo of like an old, obese, probably mid-60s man without his shirt on, and they've redacted his face, and he's sitting there with a likely 16, 17-year-old girl, and they've redacted her face. But why redact the predator? That's to protect the victims? Yeah, is it? Or are they trying to get us to believe that Epstein was trafficking 65-year-old obese men? No, I think he was probably the buyer. I think that's what he was. So they want us to believe that, this is all about the victims, all these redactions. Of course, it's not. But More about all that in a second. Of course, Bill Clinton continues to be outed because the reason that Bill Clinton is so prevalent in these is not just that he was one of the biggest predators connected to Epstein in so many ways, but also the fact that the Democrats are no longer protecting him. I mean, at least not the ones in office. Maybe some of the past ones protect him. You know, Hillary, I think, is moderately protecting him, but they're not really protecting him. But then also the Republicans want it to be, they want it to be like, oh no, it's not about Trump, it's about Clinton. And everyone in their right mind is like, I think it's about both. I think it's not just Clinton. So even the New York Times, which, you know, when Clinton was in office, the New York Times did nothing but PR for him. They were a full propaganda outlet for Bill Clinton to whitewash his war crimes, to whitewash his whitewater, right? To whitewash all of his, to cover up all of his crimes. That's mainly what New York Times did. I mean, I'm not saying they didn't cover Lewinsky and everything, but anyway, so this article in New York Times is about how a lot of this is showing Bill Clinton with a girl on his arm, and in the photo over here, Bill Clinton in a hot tub with a redacted image that is clearly they've told us is one of the victims. So he's just, you know, shirtless in a hot tub at an Epstein location with an underage victim. No, I'm sure it was innocent. Clinton's spokesperson will tell you. He didn't know what was going on. He just happened to be photographed in a hot tub with a 16-year-old girl at an island owned by a pedophile. Oh God, could it get any better for Bill Clinton? Do you ever meet anyone in your day-to-day who's still a Bill Clinton fan? Is that still a thing that exists? It's kind of like the snow leopard, you know, it's the brink of endangered. You just really wonder if there's anyone left, if there's any left out there. Okay, so another fun fact about all these redactions is that they literally put photos up on the Justice Department website, then realized Trump was even slightly featured in it, and then took the photo down. So, like, here's a photo that went up. I know those of you on the podcast obviously can't see it, but it shows a lot of images of people that Epstein was fond of with Epstein, images of Clinton, images of the Pope, I think, with Epstein. I think he was meeting him at a official. I don't think the Pope was in the back room with the girls. Not that I would put it past your average Pope, but this photo looks to be like at an official event. But then they apparently, when they were posting this photo, the DOJ didn't realize that in a tiny little bit in the drawer of photos, there is Trump's face. And if you can see the video, it's circled in red. So they then pull the photo, the whole photo down, because they're trying to cover up anything with Trump in it. Like, it couldn't be, you know, the internet doesn't forget. They apparently forgot that everyone already took a screenshot of this photo. Items from Epstein files, including a photo containing Donald Trump, were removed by the Justice Department from its website. The image featuring Trump was later reinstated because they got called out on it, and they realized it was too late. They realized everyone saw this photo that had Trump in a desk drawer at Epstein's estate. Mr. Blanche, that's the Deputy Attorney General, rejected criticisms that the removal was related to the U.S. president. No, how could it be? Of course not. And your husband just had that open condom package in his pocket because he was picking up litter on the street because he wants the neighborhood to look good. Okay, that's the only reason that was there in his jeans. Oh, these people are such scumbags. So yes, they're continuing to try and cover up everything connected to Trump. They put out like, what is it, 13,000 documents or something, but these are the ones they've been able to make sure Trump is not in. Like, and it's not just Trump, it's his friends. I mean, how many of these things that have been redacted involved like Alan Dershowitz, like Mr. Epstein's lawyer, Mr. Trump defender, Alan Dershowitz, or many others that are somehow connected to Trump, friends with Trump, etc. Yeah, we all know Clinton is guilty of all of this stuff. Like, I don't know if anyone questions that, but what they're trying to cover up is Trump's guilt. They're not trying to cover up Clinton's guilt. Let's see. So they put out a new batch of photos that shows FBI's evidence, showing videotapes. And oh, the other things that this shows is it shows that Kash Patel, the FBI head, right, who prior to being made head of the FBI was Mr. Epstein. He was talking about Epstein all day long. He was all about Epstein. They need to reveal Epstein, reveal all the time, blah, 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 but let it all out, right? Mr. Epstein. Then he becomes head of the FBI. All of a sudden he says, oh, there's nothing to see in the Epstein. Yeah, we've released it all. There's no, he literally said on like Joe Rogan and elsewhere, there's no signs of sex trafficking with Epstein. There's no client list with Epstein. Now they have actually finally shown evidence of sex trafficking. Like there are documents showing he was facilitating sex trafficking. There are documents showing he was trying to find under 18-year-old girls. Thank you, Jolly Pop, for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. I hope a lot of you guys will support the show by signing up at reallycamp.substack.com. More on that later. But thank you for supporting the show. So we know Kash Patel and all of them have just been lying their faces off. And now they've been forced to actually reveal evidence of them lying their faces off. Let's see. It's not clear that every redaction, every photo made to protect a confirmed victim. For instance, an older man's face was redacted in some images. Yeah, and he was a perpetrator. Not Jeffrey Epstein was not trafficking 65, 70-year-old men. That is not what was going down. I'm sorry for those of you who think that that was a victim's face. So then the mainstream media has been rightfully in certain ways, but making a big to-do, have been covering the fact that one of these notes talking about how he asked for an ID to a girl to confirm she was under 18. Now they should be making a big deal out of this. This is more evidence that he was looking to commit pedophilia. It was not like, oh, he was just trafficking women and he thought they were 18. No, he was looking for girls under 18. Like that was part of what, but then they've also been making a big deal of the fact that he, in one of these things, he turned down a girl because she was not light skinned or not white. Basically, they don't use the term white, and they're making a big deal out of this. I'm like, should we be shocked he's also racist? Like, or actually, I think this might have been Jeffrey Epstein trafficking to someone else who didn't want dark women, dark girls. And so I'm like, yeah, is it a shocker that these pedophile, predator, horrific human beings also racist? Like, is that blowing anyone's mind? Hey, they can't stand to be near women who are not white. I mean, it's really not shocking, to be honest, that they're also racist. They are all of the horrific things that you think they are. They are. Thank you, Pest Optimist, for joining up. I appreciate that, supporting the show. I have long said I am how did I phrase it? I've long said I'm a cynical optimist. I view the glass as half full of shit. So that's the rare Lee Camp one-liner. I don't have tons of one-liners, but when I have them, they're the best. Okay, so but yes, there's quotes from him saying, basically, I said bring young girls, yeah, but not dark. Keep looking. Jeffrey Epstein paid the girl. There's also a lot of references to paying the girls, so that is prostitution at minimum. Could be sex trafficking against their will. It's all of the things, and we now have the evidence. So Kash Patel saying there's no sign of trafficking. It's like, what a fucking lying piece of shit. Famed newsman Walter Cronkite was pictured in one of the latest photos. But again, it's not that I am going, if there was a photo of Walter Cronkite in a hot tub with one of these girls, I would not be saying what I'm about to say, which is you these older people could definitely be at a dinner with Epstein and not know what they're in for, not know what they're involved in. Katie Couric, I think, famously said Katie Couric said she was at a dinner with Epstein, like at his mansion, and she said it was all, if it wasn't her, it was someone similar to Katie Couric, but said, yeah, it was the only time I ever was in his presence. It was creepy. His mansion was creepy. There was a lot of naked shit on the walls. And that was the last time I ever had any encounter with him. Now, if you saw photos of Katie Couric laughing at this dinner, it wouldn't look good. I'll tell you that much. Another piece of evidence, another piece of proof that has come forward is that Maria Farmer, who is one of the most outspoken victims, she probably, if you only know the names of two Epstein victims, it'd probably be Maria Farmer and Virginia Giuffre. Virginia Giuffre was the one who says in her memoir, which has now been published after her death, that she was R-worded by Ehud Barak, the former Israeli prime minister. And she also, Virginia Giuffre, said she would not commit suicide. She was hit by a bus and survived. A few months later this year, she was suicided. So that's Virginia Giuffre. And then the other probably most famous victim is Maria Farmer. And Maria Farmer had said that she tried to turn in Epstein in the 90s. And she was ignored. And, of course, people want to deny this and stuff. Well, now they've released the documentation showing she legit did go to the FBI in the 90s. An FBI document released Friday included a 1996 description of a criminal complaint against Epstein related to child pornography. While the name of the complainant is redacted, Maria Farmer's lawyer said that it is her. The facts of complaint, part of the document, says that the woman, who describes herself as a professional artist, had taken photos of her underage sisters for her own personal artwork. So this is, a older sister taking photos of her younger sister. And Jolly Pop for once in your life, face reality. I think I face a lot of reality. Jolly Pop wants me to say Epstein is still alive and that the only person to identify the corpse was his brother. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Epstein were alive, but I've talked a lot about how he was murdered. Done a lot of segments on that. And the family of Epstein hired a separate, doctor to do an autopsy or to review the autopsy. And that one hired by the family said he did not commit suicide. They pointed to the fact that the bones in the neck, and by the way, if you're going to fake his death, you probably wouldn't include this detail because this detail kind of reveals that it was a murder. So the bones in the neck that almost never break during a hanging were broken. They're broken during strangulation, severe strangulation. The only time I think they're broken during a hanging is when you're like dropped, violently from a scaffolding or like the old-timey Old West hangings. Then they can break. But the way he supposedly killed himself and the way prisoners have been known to kill themselves is to just tie something around their neck and lean forward. So it's not violent. It's like a subtle hanging, if that's such a thing. Point is, if you were faking the death, it'd be very odd for you to include a detail in the autopsy that actually shows it was a murder. Now, that being said, if it came out that he's alive, that would not blow my mind. I mean, you're right. Only a few people have ever seen the body. But it's also rare in most cases for tons of people to see a body. It wouldn't blow my mind if he were alive, but I don't know why you say I'm not facing reality. I'm open to that reality. I just haven't seen any proof that he's alive. The other thing is, like, you've got to understand the number of powerful people that he had information on. Probably number one on that list is connected to Mossad, is former Israeli prime ministers, is these top people in Israel, top people in the U.S. You're telling me they don't have the ability to get rid of Epstein? Seems like when he's in prison and you think he's going to take a plea deal, you would jump on the ability to shut him up. Anyway, still moving. I was in the middle of talking about Maria Farmer. It says Epstein stole the photos that she'd taken of her younger underage sisters and the negatives, and is believed to have sold the pictures to potential buyers. Epstein at one time requested to take pictures of young girls at swimming pools. Epstein is now threatening that if she tells anyone about the photos, he will burn her house down. So she brought that to the FBI in 1996. They ignored her. They didn't just ignore her, but they at one time apparently hung up on her. So she has now been vindicated. Like, everyone can now see that if the authorities had listened to her in 1996, Epstein would have been in prison then. And God knows how many fewer victims there would have been. Farmer's sister Annie has previously said she was 16 when Epstein and his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, abused her. There's also tons of evidence in these documents of Ghislaine Maxwell's involvement. Her, a lot of these women wouldn't have just walked into this thing with Epstein because, kind of creepy man. But because Ghislaine Maxwell, this refined British woman, was by his side, she facilitated a lot of this. Like, they were willing to go somewhere with her because they thought, well, this nice British woman is just helping me out. And Epstein had all these perks. He would offer to fund their schooling and all this stuff. And he would, as far as it said in the documents, many of them, he would do it. He would fund their schooling while they were being trafficked. So it's like, yeah, this is all these details are coming to light. And yet, a lot of stuff's redacted. A lot of stuff's covered up. The Justice Department appears to have been inconsistent when it comes to protecting the identities of several men who are included in the photographs. In one series of photos, a young man's face is initially covered with a black square, but in later images, his face is not redacted. So they're trying hastily to redact all this shit, and they're not. They're failing some of the time, at least. Okay. That's all I'm going to cover. The Epstein kind of revelations, not enough revelations. They were, by the way, the government was like legally supposed to reveal everything by this weekend. They didn't do it. They revealed a little bit, but okay. So let's keep moving. I want to get to so many other things. Let's get to how Israel is preparing for a permanent presence in Gaza, building military installations. We're also going to get to how Trump's numbers are collapsing. I like to, I know the easy segue would be from Epstein to Trump's numbers collapsing, but you know what? We're not doing easy segues today. I don't care. I don't care who needs their segues. Just nice and convenient. Hey, this story about Israel still has to do with how Trump's a shitbag. Okay, so there's your segue. Okay, you segue addicted folks. I don't know if folks has ever been said with that much disgust. From Drop Site News, Israel is preparing for a permanent presence in Gaza. Satellite images reveal. And this map is showing the extensive nature of all of these Israel's military installations. Keep in mind, folks, that according to, I'll get more into this in a moment, according to Trump's 20-point plan, right, which was why Hamas agreed to it, why Hamas released the hostages, et cetera, et cetera. According to that 20-point plan, Israel is still supposed to exit Gaza. Now, anyone with a half a functioning brain cell knows Israel is never fucking leaving Gaza. They are not. In fact, they're planning to do the opposite, take more and more of it. But according to the plan that Hamas and other countries agreed to, Israel is supposed to slowly exit Gaza. But instead, what are they doing? They're actually building more permanent military bases in the 58% of Gaza they've already stolen. Every red dot on this map is a new permanent, or one that they're working on, permanent military infrastructure. Since the so-called ceasefire came into effect in Gaza October 10th, Israel's been consolidating its control over the 58% of Gaza that it has control of, according to new research by forensic architecture, physically altering the geography of the land through a combination of the construction of military infrastructure alongside the destruction of existing buildings. Israel appears to be laying the groundwork to establish a permanent presence in the majority of the Gaza Strip. Israel has constructed at least 13 new military outposts inside Gaza since the ceasefire, primarily located along the Yellow Line in eastern Khan Yunis and near the border with Israel. 13. Did I say 14 earlier? 13 new military outposts. Here is Moen Rabbani, who is a former UN official. He said, Israel is doing what it always does and what it historically has done best. Establish, quote, facts on the ground incrementally rather than spectacularly, and make them permanent once those with influence to force it to reverse course either lose interest, decide that the cost of confronting Israel is not worth the price, or come out in open support of Israel's violations. Israel is in no rush and prepared to play the long game. And this is such a great point that, like, Israel was losing the propaganda war during the most active phase of the genocide, which ended October 10th. Now we're into a slower genocide, a slower ethnic cleansing. They were completely losing the propaganda war. The support for Israel has cratered around the world. But now they're just kind of, it's like a neutral in the propaganda war. People are moving on from the topic of Gaza, even though the genocide continues. A lot of the people who, are not very political, but they were like, this is disgusting. Those people have gone back to being not political, and they're like, oh yeah, that Gaza thing, I mean, it's kind of over, right? And Israel is now slowly just cementing their hold, literally and figuratively, their hold of that 58% that they've already stolen, that they've already ethnically cleansed. I wrote a column about this many weeks ago on Substack, and they are cementing that. And then their hope is to make the 42%, if my math serves me correct, the 42% unlivable, which it already is. I mean, it's the 42% where all Gazans, surviving Gazans are now, has been so destroyed that people are just living in tents, but they're not allowed to have so many things that you need for existence. Everywhere is flooding and destroyed. It's fucking awful. And their goal is to make it so unlivable that Gazans take the offer of leaving. And Israel has said they will open the exit to go to Egypt, because Israel now controls all exits out of Gaza. There's nothing that isn't controlled by Israel. They will open the exit to go to Egypt, but it is a one-way exit. They are saying, which also was not in the agreement. This is also violating the ceasefire agreement. Egypt has so far refused, but Israel is saying, okay, we're going to let people out, but you just can't come back, which is the definition of ethnic cleansing. And that is Israel's plan. And we now are seeing the facts on the ground. And they're hoping that if they stretch this out over long enough, people move on. The people that have any kind of power that could stop them from reverting on the ceasefire deal won't care. Between October 10th, that's when the ceasefire started, so-called ceasefire. They've killed like 500 people with bullets since the ceasefire began. They've killed far more than that with disease and famine and stuff. But between October 10th and December 2nd, Israel has accelerated the growth and infrastructure development of 48 existing military outposts inside Gaza, expanded a network of roads connecting military outposts inside Gaza to the Israeli road network, bases and settlements outside of Gaza, continued construction that began in September of this year of a new road in Khan Yunis, rerouting the Magan Oz corridor to run within Israel's area of control, engaged in the systematic demolition and destruction of Palestinian property, particularly in eastern Khan Yunis, targeting areas which haven't already been destroyed. New military outposts and roads have emerged across this area. This is indisputably an Israeli campaign to partition the Gaza Strip and thereby promote its long-term objective of moving the Palestinian population elsewhere, Rabbani said. That's a nice way of saying completing the ethnic cleansing. And then they go into, Israel moving the yellow line, stealing more territory, etc. Point 16 of Trump's 20-point plan explicitly states Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza. Boy, really not clear there. As the ISF, this is the so-called stabilization force that Trump was going to create of multiple countries and all this bullshit. And there's no sign that it's doing much. Many countries that he said would be involved are like, we're not fucking doing that. So it's like, yeah, the stabilization force. Anyway, as the ISF establishes control and stability, the IDF, the Israeli military, will withdraw based on standards, milestones, and timeframes linked to demilitarization. It goes on to say, practically, the IDF will progressively hand over the Gaza territory it occupies to the stabilization force, according to an agreement they will make with the transitional authority until they are withdrawn completely from Gaza, save for a security perimeter presence. So this is why, and everyone knew they were lying, I think. I think Hamas knew they were lying as well. But this is why Hamas was willing to agree to this ceasefire deal. It's because it said Israel would not take over Gaza and they would leave Gaza. Of course, Israel's not doing that. They've already stolen 58% of Gaza. They're working on stealing the rest. And now we have proof that they are building these permanent military structures within Gaza, within the 58% they own. Okay, I want to pause real quick to loads of stories coming up right now, but to ask you guys, I know it's the end of the year. If you have 2 coffees a month, it's about what it is. 2 cups of coffee a month, you could throw my way. Not literally. If you hit me in the face with a hot coffee, I'm not a huge fan. I'm not gonna be that upset. I'll be like, ha ha, it was kind of funny. You took it literally, but it's not, it's not cool. It's not like I'm not gonna put on my cool list. But yeah, throw me 2 cups of coffee a month, and then this show and Unredacted Tonight will be able to keep going. Unredacted Tonight, obviously more expensive to create than this show. For those of you who don't know, I have no corporate backers. I am just trying to make this work on my own. I make very little to no ad dollars from YouTube. YouTube has suppressed me nearly into oblivion. So it really comes down to whether you guys want to see Unredacted Tonight, my comedy show, or this show continue. VC Nick says, get in, losers. Go sign up. Thank you, VC Nick, for the aggressive language. But there's multiple places to sign up. Just pick the one. There's really 3. Just pick, if you can throw me 2 coffees a month, just pick the one that is most comfortable to you. Maybe one you're already on. It's Substack, Patreon, and Locals. Substack is obviously more for reading, but it's not only that. You can also just support my show and never read a thing. But I'm really excited that many of you have already joined up, which is just so fucking cool. Like, the support is really, I don't know. It humbles me, as the expression goes, although I think it's a terrible expression, because generally when people are talking about being humbled, it's because they're like, doesn't this make me so great? Which doesn't really, that seems backwards. But yes, it's just been really amazing to watch the support of those of you who have already signed up. And if I can humble brag without the humble part for a second, it really is thanks to you guys, though. So it's not really me bragging. It's you guys. I am now ranked number 6 in best-selling in world politics on Substack. We got up to number 6, motherfuckers. That's thanks to you guys. Totally. I have been on the bestsellers in world politics before, but it's normally towards the 30s, the 40s and stuff. You guys now have me up at number 6, which is so cool. Drop Site News at number 1. And yeah, so to be on that list, be so high on that list is like so amazing. It really is thanks to you guys. I don't think we're going to crack number 1, but maybe we can get even higher if a couple of you join up. In order to keep Unredacted Tonight going in this coming year, I need to find, 40 or so more people to join up. for a year. It averages out to, like I said, on Substack, it's like $6.60 a month. And yeah, that's how it works. That's how I'm able to do what I do. That's how my show can keep going. I was hoping that Unredacted I could simply just keep growing like a lot on YouTube, and it was for a moment. Like, clearly the response has been amazing. You guys have loved it. The response is just awesome, and it did. It grew a lot in the first several months, and then they just, every time that happens, they're like, let's shut this shit down. So it has gone in the reverse, but that doesn't mean I want to stop. I want to see the show keep going. I want to keep making it for you guys. I want to keep making this show for you guys, the live stream. I want to keep doing all of it. I want to keep writing the columns for Substack. But it really does have to do with whether you guys can throw me those 2 coffees. Not literally, please. So yeah, the 3, I didn't list the other 2 places. reallycamp.substack.com is one. The other is my locals page, we can get to at leecamp.net. We'll take you straight there. Scroll down to become a supporter. And throw in a couple of bucks a month to join up there. And then the other one, if you're like, I'm just Patreon, I don't do anything else, just Patreon, then it is patreon.com/LeeCamp. And now I'll take one moment before we get to the next topic. I'll take a moment to answer a question, because I do like this question. I don't often, have time to answer loads of questions on this live stream, but thank you, TZ. Oh, is that for Zeitgeist Movement? Anyway, TZ, Saul, what's up? TZ Saul wants to know who are my comedic influences. There are a lot, but some of the biggest ones I'd say are George Carlin, Bill Hicks, some certain eras of Chris Rock, Doug Stanhope I love. Back in my younger days, I listened to more Lewis Black. I have to admit, and there are certain people where it's like, not only don't meet your heroes, but don't follow what they do after the year you like them. Like there are certain people where you're like if you just followed a few years of Lance Armstrong and then closed your eyes completely, you could be like, he's the man. Not only did he fight cancer, he was the best cyclist to ever live. Just never gain new information. Very important. Or if you were like a Bill Cosby fan, just close your eyes and shut it down. So here's an example of that. When I was in my younger years, I wasn't political at all. Like, I was 12 years old. One of the pivotal things that got me into comedy was reading Jerry Seinfeld's book. And unfortunately, not only is Seinfeld one of the biggest Zionists to ever live, literally took his family on the IDF terror training camp where you pay $1,000 and you go to an IDF camp and they teach you how to be a IDF shit stain, but also supports genocide in all the ways he can find to support it. So yeah, awful human being. But even outside of Israel, it just turns out he's just a douchebag. I know multiple stories about him. You never learn about your heroes after the time they were your heroes. Thank you, Ratso, for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. So yeah, there is a list of some of my influences. But yeah, there's just, Carlin is always at the top of the list. And also I got to be friends with his daughter, Kelly Carlin. I never got to meet George Carlin. He had died by the time I met Kelly. But Kelly has been just an awesome human being and supporter of mine and everything. So a lot of love to her. I got to open while he was still alive for Dick Gregory, perform on a couple of shows and talk to him. I can't say it was a huge influence, but it was an honor. Dick Gregory, if you don't know about him, great, not just great comedian, but great political activist, marched alongside Medgar Evers and so many other people as Dick Gregory, also the first to show the actual Zapruder film of JFK being assassinated without the missing frames. Dick Gregory brought it to primetime TV to air. I think it was Geraldo Rivero had some show, and so he agreed to put it on. But that was Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory also talked to me about how all of his friends, he thought that they were trying to assassinate him at one point because all of his quote unquote friends had been killed. He was with John Lennon the night before he died. He was friends with the people he called the Kennedy brothers, JFK and RFK. He was marched alongside Medgar Evers. He was killed. He knew MLK. He knew Malcolm X. So anyway, Dick Gregory, just icon. He ran for president at one point. Anyway, pretty impressive man. So big tangent there, but hope you enjoyed it. Okay, let's get to how Trump's someone's mentioning Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor, I can't say he was a huge influence of mine, but obviously a comedy god. And I got to meet his daughter, Rain Pryor, and Rain agreed to perform the opening at one of my shows, my CD taping, back when there were CDs. Remember those days? So if you ever listen to Pepper Spray, The Tears Away was the one. Yeah. Kelly Carlin did the opening at Chaos for the Weary. Rain Pryor opened at Pepper Spray, The Tears Away. So if you ever get to listen to one of those albums, I think they're still on like Spotify and stuff. Rain Pryor opened for that show. Okay. Moving on. Trump's economic approval hits a new... Oh, and I should throw in there when you ask about comedic influences, so much of stand-up now, utter garbage. God, it's shit. The people that sell out arenas, holy God, are they fucking awful. Okay, moving on. Trump's economic approval hits a new low at 36%, a new poll finds. And this is right after he came. I love that this comes right after he gave his speech about how great the economy is. And everybody's like, I've looked at my checkbook. No, it's fucking not awesome. I don't think so. I just sold an organ on the black market to try and afford my kids' medication. So tell me again how awesome the economy is. During Trump's first term, the economy was a relative strength of his. During the 2024 presidential campaign, his promises to lower prices in a country grappling with post-COVID inflation propelled him back into office. But now just 36% of Americans approve of his handling of the economy. And by the way, if you think the economy is bad now, wait till the AI economic bubble bursts. Oh, it's going to be ugly. It's coming. It's coming. According to the latest NPR PBS Marist poll, 36%. It's his worst mark in 6 years that they've been asking the question. The only time span that Americans have had similarly negative view of a president's handling of the economy in the poll was in February 2022 when Joe Biden was president. But 2022 was really just coming out of the pandemic, like really just coming out. I mean, you could argue we're still just coming out of it, but a majority of Americans think the economy is in recession right now. This is after Trump gave a speech about how it's the best economy ever to be had. A couple other points about our economy right now. If you think it's awesome, like Trump says, 49% of children live in poverty or near the poverty line. 49% of American children are in or near the poverty line. This is one of the richest countries in the world, and half the children live in poverty. Also, 36 million people are in poverty right now. That's outside of the child stat. Also, Housing and Urban Development reports that on one single night, when they last checked it, 771,000 and a half, 771.5 thousand. It's really a dumb way to say it. I should have just said 771,500 people. I should have just said it that way. Like, why complicate it? People experienced homelessness on that night. Now, that may sound actually low, right? You're 330 million people in America. Why is it only 771,000 are homeless when you can look out on the streets and see so many? Well, for one thing, that's just one night. For another thing, it has to do with how they're viewing this. That is counting basically people on the streets. It's not counting the millions that are in some way house insecure. There are, when you add it all up, there are millions that are living in their cars, squatting in apartments they no longer own, living at a friend's house on a couch because they have nowhere else to live. Like, all those things should count as homeless, but they don't. So instead, you get the number 771,000. Now, I'd like to remind you, and mainstream media will never do this, that we have 17 million vacant homes in America. 17 million. And that doesn't count vacant office space that could be turned into fucking beds. Like, if you were to count vacant living spaces with roofs over them, holy shit, you could house probably 40 million people or something. But just vacant homes, it's 17 million vacant homes. So we could literally give every homeless person roughly 17 of their own homes for free. Another fact, let's see, household debt has hit a record high of $18.6 trillion. Trillion. So while a lot of people are homeless or living on a couch or something, there's a lot of people that aren't homeless, but they're living on debt. They're living on massive credit card debt or some other form of debt. And so you have $18.5 trillion of debt in America. U.S. insolvencies and bankruptcies rose above pre-pandemic levels for the first time recently. So this is like, we're back to the number of bankruptcies that, were caused by the pandemic and everything. It's like the economy is trash. It's trash, and we haven't even seen the burst of the AI bubble, which is coming. So that's how awesome Trump's doing right now. Numbers doing amazing. Bigly awesome, bigly rad, whatever words Trump uses. I don't know. What is it? It's great. Bigly great. Yeah. Bigly great, best, perfect. Bigly perfect. It's the bigly perfect economy we got going here. Let's keep going. Julian Assange has brought a lawsuit against the Nobel Prize Committee for giving the Nobel Peace Prize to Venezuela's Corina Machado. As many of you know, the coup-monger who is trying desperately, like frothing at the mouth to get the U.S. to bomb her country and to obliterate her country and to allow the theft of the resources of her country, was given the Nobel Peace Prize. And many people just need to realize that's what the Nobel Peace Prize Committee now stands for. It stands for actually creating war, which is appropriate since Nobel, is Alfred Nobel, was known for dynamite. That was the main thing he invented. Alfred Nobel. I shouldn't doubt myself so much. That's what we need. I need more confidence. We need more white male confidence. What's the expression? Ought to have the confidence of a mediocre white man. Oh, God. So true. But yes, Alfred Nobel invented dynamite, and then he realized that his legacy was going to be inventing one of the biggest killers in the world. And so he created the Peace Prize to change his legacy. And it worked, except now the Nobel Peace Prize is used to create war. From the gray zone, the Swedish government violated its own laws by awarding the Nobel Peace Prize to Venezuelan opposition figure Maria Corina Machado. According to an explosive legal brief filed by Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks co-founder and former political prisoner, the Nobel Committee's decision to award Machado the Peace Prize and the $11 million Swedish kroner. 11 million Swedish kroner, which equates to $1.18 million, $1.18 million US dollars, to give her the reward, which accompanies it, means that, quote, there is a real risk that funds derived from the Nobel's endowment have been and will be diverted from their charitable purpose to facilitate aggression, crimes against humanity, and war crimes. The WikiLeaks founder pointed to the ample public statements showing that the U.S. government and Machado have exploited the authority of the prize to provide them with casus moralis. I love the Latin. I've been known to use casus belli for war, cause of war, justification for war. I don't know if I've ever used casus moralis, the moral cause for war, adding that the explicitly stated purpose of the war sought by Machado and her wealthy Latin American backers would be installing her by force in order to plunder $1.7 trillion in Venezuelan oil and other resources. The Nobel Foundation stands accused of a number of violations of Swedish criminal law, including breach of trust, misappropriation and gross misappropriation, conspiracy, crimes against international law, as well as financing of aggression, facilitation of war crimes, and crimes against humanity, and breaching Sweden's stated obligations under the Rome Statute, to which Stockholm says it is deeply committed. By the way, Sweden, as many of you know, if you watch my show, we talk about this, especially when Eleanor is on the show. Sweden is just a complete, loves giving a tongue bath to the American power. They have a better country than the U.S. in terms of caring for their people. They still have health care. They still have free daycare, stuff like that for little kids, for the smallest kids. But so stuff like that, Sweden, absolutely better than the U.S. However, when it comes to foreign policy, Sweden, anytime Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, whatever, Biden needs a tongue bath. They're there to facilitate. So, under Swedish law, Alfred Nobel's endowment for peace cannot be spent on the promotion of war, Assange noted, nor can it be used as a tool in foreign military intervention. Venezuela, whatever the status of its political system, is no exception. Assange argues that the committee is effectively financing a conspiracy to murder civilians, to violate national sovereignty using military force. So good for Julian Assange, as always. I mean, he has always done amazing work, obviously tortured for his amazing work. And he is now suing the Nobel Prize Committee for helping to create war. All right, folks, a couple more stories before we wrap up here. Just a reminder, this will be the last live stream of the week because we have Christmas coming up, and I figured jamming in a live stream that most people won't watch anyway is not a great use of my time. So I am going to still bring at least one, maybe two columns to Substack this week because those have a longer shelf life. But this will be the last live stream of the week, I believe. Maybe if there's some crazy breaking news, I'll do something. But and then I'll be back next Monday. Unredacted tonight is off until the new year. So basically, this is the last live stream of the week. Please, I hope you'll check out the Substack columns, though, and I hope you'll join up at Substack. Again, 2 cups of coffee a month. And, if you join up for a month and you're like, wow, that $6 really killed me and I just can't do it anymore, then cancel. So I hope you'll $6 or $8 or whatever it is. But I hope you'll join up, reallycamp.substack.com, and you'll be supporting this show. You'll be supporting independent media. I do need more people to sign up if I want to keep Unredacted Tonight going. And, again, for those of you who have signed up, it's just incredible. And thank you for the solidarity. Thank you for understanding what I do, and that, I'm one of the few out here doing this that has stuck to the same principles the entire time, that isn't doing 180s and all of a sudden endorsing war criminals. And I've been saying the same shit, being anti-war, being anti-capitalist, being pro-worker, being pro-peace, being pro-equality, anti-prisons, our police brutality system, all of it. I've been doing it for, 2 decades now, and you're not getting 180s from me. You're not getting, I'm not the Tulsi Gabbards of the world. All right. I am not the one that says I stand for one thing and then the following week I stand for something new, and you're just expected to try and follow the 180s. No, I've been doing this, sticking with these ideals for a long, long time. And you know, it's who I am, and I'm not changing it, despite the suppression, despite the censorship, despite the fact that I'm not with any corporate entity, despite the fact, you know, these people getting these. If I just threw all my values out the window, man, maybe I could get a Joe Rogan deal, $100 million at Spotify. Maybe I could get a Dave Chappelle deal, $100 million at Netflix. Maybe I could get one of these massive, maybe I could get a YouTube channel that's raking in 20 grand a month if I just threw all my values out the window. Just not who I am. So basically, instead of the $100 million at Spotify, I got banned by Spotify. Kind of the polar opposite. My podcast was banned at Spotify for no reason given, no right to appeal, no nothing. Just disappeared off the face of the earth. So comes down to you guys and whether you would like to see Unredacted tonight and my shows continue. Okay, one more story before we wrap up. The Starbucks rebellion, we'll call it, continues to grow. The Red Cup rebellion. Solidarity has surged, and there's a great website for this, SB Starbucks, I guess, sbworkersunited.org. It might be Starbucks Baristas, sorry. Or I don't know, but sbworkersunited.org. Union Baristas' historic Red Cup rebellion grew again in strength and power Thursday as hundreds of new union Starbucks baristas across the country joined the unfair labor practices strike. Union Baristas' open-ended ULP strike began on Red Cup Day, November 13th, has gained momentum and solidarity from workers each week. Over 180 state and local elected officials sent a letter to Starbucks on Wednesday calling for the company to end union busting and finalize a fair union contract. Also, if you need another reason to boycott Starbucks, just remember one of the top companies linked to Israel. The founder of Starbucks is one of the biggest donors to Israel. He's received some of the highest civilian honors from Israel. So when you support Starbucks, you support genocide. If you need a hot cup of genocider, head on over to Starbucks. They've got the best cider there is, the best genocider. Organizations representing over 80 million people have backed our demands. Elected leaders from moderates to progressive firebrands to newly elected Democratic socialists are standing with us, says one of the representatives. And yeah, it's getting bigger every week. And obviously this is also the prime time of year for Starbucks. Starbucks makes some crazy amount of their profit from Thanksgiving through the new year. So hundreds of thousands of supporters have committed to not cross baristas' growing picket lines until Starbucks ends union busting and returns to the bargaining table with new proposals to improve pay, staffing, and scheduling for the thousands of union baristas powering the company's profits. 1 month after baristas began their nationwide ULP strike, more than 225,000 people have signed the no contract, no coffee pledge to not buy Starbucks until union baristas secure a fair contract. Now, I think you should sign a pledge to never buy Starbucks again, considering they've supported a genocide. So maybe just don't do Starbucks anymore. And if you read the news on the ticker here at the bottom, I put in the news that in solidarity with striking Starbucks workers and those who are boycotting Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts has announced that while the strike is happening, they will make their coffee not taste like shit, at least for the month of December. Yeah, so you can switch over to Dunkin' Donut and it won't taste like garbage just while the strike is going on. I'm just kidding. Also that I like that joke because it messes with the people who think Dunkin' Donuts coffee is the best. There is a strong but vocal percentage of Americans who think Dunkin' Donuts has the best coffee. It is trash, folks. It's garbage. I'm sorry. For those of you into Dunkin' Donuts coffee, I don't know what happened to your taste buds or why they were abused in such a way. I don't know who you had to lick to end up liking Dunkin' Donuts coffee. But anyway. So the protests get bigger and bigger. Good for Starbucks workers to keep growing and use their power, use their force. I'm sure Starbucks is losing loads of income right now. And the truth is, if workers showed solidarity, they would have this country, the ruling elite, by the balls and the vagina. They would have them by the gonads, male and female gonads. They would have them by if workers united, if workers fought together. And that's why it's so dangerous. Anytime, most of the people that have been assassinated in this country is because they started saying unite. It's because they started telling people to unite together. It's like if you were just talking to one little group and you're saying, no, only our people should fight for, then you're not that much of a threat. Once you start saying, hey, let's all get together and create change, those are the, and obviously you have to have a big platform. You can't just stand on a street corner, but those are the ones that they ultimately take out. Okay, I want to kind of do one more story. I'll give you a bonus since we're not going to see each other till next Monday. I did a segment on Substack, a column on Substack about the U.S. connection to the humanitarian crisis. Wow, how many times could it take me to say the word humanitarian? I love that. I just got lazy. I was halfway through the word and I was like, I'm out. Humanity crisis. I'm done. I'm not. It's too many syllables. Sorry. Human crisis. I ain't doing Tarian. It's too much for me. What do you want? It's the holidays. I ain't saying all those syllables. The largest humanitarian crisis on the planet right now. And not the most extreme. Gaza is the most extreme in many ways. Fewer people have been killed in Sudan. But in terms of sheer number impacted, literally tens of millions, 13 to 14 million people have fled their homes in Sudan due to the humanitarian crisis there. And I did an article on Substack. I wanted to look into and research what the connections are to the U.S. empire, where we stand on it, whether there are any connections. Because anytime you see giant humanitarian crisis, generally U.S. involvement. Like at best, we're kind of ignoring it, but that's very rare. It's almost always U.S. involvement. And so I did some research, wrote a column about it, free to read over at reallycamp.substack.com. But I want to cover it just for a second here. So like I said, thousands of people killed, 13 million people displaced. It's really started in 2023 when the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, and the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, started warring with each other in Sudan. That was in April 2023. And if you Google it on Guardian or CNN or whatever, and you read those, you will almost never hear any reference to the United States. You will almost never hear there's anything to do with the U.S. You might hear that Trump made a statement or something like that. But basically, no connection to the U.S., which is horseshit. First of all, when you start thinking about this, you go, wasn't Sudan on General Wesley Clark's list of 7 countries we're going to destroy or destabilize in 5 years? You guys, of course, remember that clip. I've played it many times. Let's see. Should I play it?
About 10 days.
All right, I'll play it real quick. I'm going to cut to he's in the Pentagon. It's right after 9/11. This was recorded in 2007. He says he walks in the Pentagon after 9/11. They say, we're invading Iraq. And he goes, what? And anyway, they then say, it's worse than that. Anyway, here we go.
Reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper. He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today. And he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
So that was in 2007. He said that, but he was saying it happened right after 9/11, 2001. And every country on that list has now been destroyed, invaded, destabilized, ground up, triturated, pulverized, everything you can imagine, with the exception of Iran, which of course they're trying. They constantly are trying to destroy Iran. But Iran is the only one still standing out of that list. If you need to hear it again, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. They have either put in puppet governments or they've just created an absolutely destroyed state, like in Libya, all destroyed. And the reason, of course, comes down to U.S. power, petrodollar, and things connected to the petrodollar. I'll read from, this is from Mint Press, Manar Adley at Mint Press. It did an article on this, or maybe a video on this, but an article. Sudan once stood at the heart of the axis of resistance, a bridge between Iran, Palestine, and Lebanon, a logistical lifeline for weapons to Gaza and South Lebanon, and a strategic ally on the Red Sea. Okay, so not a shocker that the U.S. would want to destroy a country that was facilitating Palestinian resistance, but generally that's not big enough for the full breadth of actions by the U.S. It generally is bigger than just supporting Palestine. So then you wonder, well, every country on that list has some connection to de-dollarization, to the growth of China, the growth of BRICS, but BRICS' main economic force has to do with China. And China is trying to replace the dollar. Once the dollar drops as the global reserve currency, and it has been dropping, and the petrodollar goes by the wayside, I mean, we shouldn't even be using fossil fuels anymore, the U.S. dollar is done. So that is the existential crisis that the U.S. faces. Manar Adley adds, next says, Sudan sits on a fault line connecting the Red Sea, the Sahel, and the Horn of Africa, regions central to China's Belt and Road Initiative and Russia's trade networks. Its ports could link Africa's mineral wealth to a new multipolar economy, no longer dependent on the U.S. dollar. For Washington, this is an existential threat. So they have BRICS, which is growing. One of the keys to the growth of BRICS is the Belt and Road Initiative, right? That China's creating to be the alternative to kind of the petrodollar system of the world. And the U.S. is trying everything to stop this. Well, one of the ways to stop the Belt and Road Initiative, which has to do with trade routes, is to destabilize and crush every country that would be the key states in this trade route, in these trade routes. One of the key states is Venezuela, with the world's largest oil reserves. Manar Adley says, if Sudan joined the Belt and Road, it could connect Africa's gold, oil, and mineral wealth directly to Beijing, bypassing Western control entirely. So that's the why. Why would the U.S. and Israel, but the U.S. want to go after Sudan? And so over the many years since the 1990s, Sudan has been the victim of sanctions by the U.S., CIA fuckery, et cetera, et cetera. But the real moment that all of that bore fruit and the real crushing of Sudan began or succeeded in 2019 when they removed President Omar al-Bashir in a military coup. With Bashir, Manar continues, with Bashir gone, the UAE. So again, I said, if you Google these things, if you Google Sudan, you won't find much about the U.S. Well, what you will find a lot about is UAE. UAE is funding the RSF, is that right? The rebel force, basically. The RSF. And they're arming them and they're training them. So the UAE, United Arab Emirates, is a key, pivotal ally of this humanitarian, allied creating this humanitarian crisis in Sudan. You'll hear a lot about, if you Google the Sudan crisis, you'll read about UAE. But why is that the U.S.? Well, as Manar says, with Bashir gone, the UAE rose as Washington and Tel Aviv's new enforcer. financing coups, arming militias, and laundering blood gold under the banner of counterterrorism. Through the Abraham Accords, which were signed under the last Trump administration, Israel and the UAE fused Emirati money, which is oil money, Israeli intelligence, and Western arms into one war machine. The RSF was created and funded by the UAE with Washington's approval. They were trained basically in Yemen, fighting against the resistance against Israel, so fighting to defend Israel in Yemen. That's where they were trained. Then they've pointed their guns back into Sudan, and they continue to create this humanitarian crisis. And, you know, this is an example of the U.S. likes to do a lot of things kind of subtly, like behind the veil. Sometimes Trump says it outright, right? Sometimes, like he said, we're going to take over Gaza. Sometimes it's said outright. But a lot of what the U.S. does is not done publicly like that. And I give some examples in my column. The Nord Stream pipeline was blown up by Russia, right? Wait, no, it was blown up by Ukraine, not the U.S. The proxy war in Ukraine was started by Russia. They had no U.S. involvement. Syria was collapsed in a failed state run by an al-Qaeda chief now by rebels. Rebels did it. No, not the U.S. Libya was invaded and collapsed into a terror state of warlords by NATO. Wasn't the U.S. The lawfare coup in Pakistan was perpetrated by the opposition parties, not the U.S. Sudan plunging into the largest humanitarian crisis in the world due to the UAE is due to the UAE, not the U.S. So this is not something we're new to. To conclude here, Minar wraps up by saying every nation that resists every nation that resists, which she then lists the nations that are resisting, Palestine, Yemen, Iran, Lebanon, and now Sudan, faces the same fate: sanctions, proxy wars, starvation, and propaganda. This is the architecture of U.S. imperialism, the export of so-called Western democracy against the global South. So if you want far more details than I just gave you, go to reallycamp.substack.com. Again, I hope to get 30, 40 more members before the end of the year so that I can keep Unredacted Tonight going. And if you think this show and Unredacted Tonight are valuable, I hope you'll do that. reallycamp.substack.com. You can also join up patreon.com/LeeCamp or at leecamp.net. I will see you a week from today, but I will have at least one, maybe two columns going up at Substack this week. So subscribe over there and check back regularly. All right. Keep fighting.
Well, brother, I salute you, though, man. You're one of the few that bring together this tremendous artistic talent and still be in such deep solidarity with oppressed people.
It's an honor to be here because I'll tell you, Lee, you have one of the funniest shows on television, bar none.
It's an enormous pleasure to be here. While I was waiting, I was leafing through your wonderful book.
The same to you. I love your show. Be happy to come back anytime.
Lee, this is one of the great honors of my long career, just to be in the same earth with you.
I'm sure.
We're just so blinded. We have so many blinders on because our society doesn't want us to know things. And so it takes shows like your show, and
it is clearly designed to eradicate.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Jill, how are you? Julian, thanks for joining me. Honor to have you, brother.
Consumerism is a theory that people should behave this way to help each other. It's not.
Mr. George Galloway, thank you so much for joining me in these dark times.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much, Lee, for having me on. Keep fighting. Ha ha.